Does this situation look familiar? As a professional driver, you've probably delivered to locations just like this one hundreds of times. Space to maneuver is limited, and there's obstacles in every direction. The fact is, nearly 70% of all of our vehicle accidents involve collisions with stationary objects. Nearly 50% of those occur while backing. That's the bad news. The good news is this: each one of those accidents is 100% avoidable. The following video, produced by J.J. Keller, offers some excellent guidance on tips to avoid fixed object collisions.
Well, looks like someone's got some explaining to do. Glad it's not me. What excuse could you possibly have for getting into a fix like that? Things like posts, air conditioning units, parked cars, overhead wires, guardrails, even trees for that matter, don't just dart out in front of you. The thing is, hitting a fixed object is no joke. Fixed object collisions should never happen in the first place. Yet they cause more property damage, more injuries, and more fatalities than any other single vehicle collision involving large trucks. In fact, for most carriers, they're more common than any other type of crash. The majority of fixed object collisions involve only minor property damage because they happen at low speeds, when drivers are backing or turning corners. But in more serious cases, a truck might hit an overpass or a low-hanging power line. And the most deadly fixed object collisions happen when drivers are traveling at highway speeds and, due to some type of distraction, leave the road. Here, we'll look at how to avoid the entire spectrum of fixed object collisions. You'll see that in all cases, you need to combine basic driving skills, awareness of your surroundings, and a good attitude towards safety to prevent these crashes. Otherwise, even the most routine situation can go bad quickly. And how would you feel about being the one who has to explain that? That is not a sound you want to hear while backing. Even though backing is a basic maneuver, you know better than anyone that it can be one of the most difficult to execute safely every time, all the time. So it's probably no surprise that many make that most fixed object collisions happen during backing. Loading docks, utility poles, air conditioning units, steps, parked forklifts. Drivers hit all types of objects. It's surprising how many things are standing, sitting, or hanging there just waiting for you to run into them. A typical fleet of 150 trucks might see 2 or 3 minor collisions like this every week at an average cost of around, let's see, maybe $1,000 each. Usually these aren't even reported to the insurance company. Why not? Do the math. 3 accidents a week, 52 weeks in a year. That comes to 156 collisions. For a 150 truck fleet, that's more than 1 accident a year for every single truck. Can you imagine? Lucky you don't get into that many crashes. Think of what your car insurance rates would be if you got into fender benders year after year after year. Forget about early retirement. Instead of collecting insurance, the average carrier may shell out tens of thousands of dollars each year to repair damage from these insignificant incidents. Insignificant. Yeah, right. Those costs don't even begin to cover the cost of driver downtime while the event is investigated, or while the vehicle's being repaired. And what about the blow to the driver's self-esteem after making such a careless mistake? What's that worth? Think about it. When you see a truck backed into a guardrail or maybe some cement steps, how glad are you that you weren't the pilot on that landing? It couldn't be more clear. Backing into a fixed object is costly for everyone involved, and in a number of different ways. So, how do you avoid it? Easy. Pay attention. Remember that all backing maneuvers have the potential for trouble. That means you need to follow simple safety rules every time you back up. No matter how easy the maneuver may seem, no matter how many other drivers you're holding up, every time you back, you need to, 1, Get out and look for things you might not see in your mirrors. 2. Check behind, above, under, and to the sides of your truck. 3. Verify that your trailer doors are secure. Use straps or bungees if you need to. 4. Make sure you have adequate swing clearance for any turns. 5. If you'll have to pull forward during the maneuver, also check in front of your vehicle. And 6. Warn others that your truck is about to back up. If you're in a cold climate, look for a couple more things: ice accumulation and snowbanks. If even one tire is elevated by snow, ice, or anything else, it could cause your rig to hit something overhead. And for that matter, who knows what could be under a snow pile? You don't want to use your truck to find out. Beyond these safety checks, use standard rules of backing. There's never a good excuse not to. Ever. Don't back unless you absolutely have to. Back in a straight line whenever possible. Back as slowly as possible using the lowest reverse gear. Don't accelerate or ride the clutch. Don't oversteer. Back to the driver's or sight side, where it's easier to see whenever possible. Use your mirrors, including additional convex mirrors on your tractor's fenders if you have them. Use your horn and four-way flashers to warn pedestrians and other motorists. Turn off the radio and listen for noises. And finally, use a qualified spotter when possible to help guide the rig. Be sure to agree on hand signals, and if you lose sight of your spotter, stop immediately. Mistakes happen when drivers don't take the time to follow simple rules. Even if you're holding up traffic and people start losing their cool, maintain your calm and patience. If you don't, you may have a lot more to worry about than a few disgruntled drivers. Here are 3 more tips about fixed object collisions that every driver should know. First, fixed object collisions tend to affect the same areas on the vehicle time after time. The front right and left bumper, the rear right and left of the tractor tandem, the rear overhang of the trailer, and the right or left crown of the trailer. For new drivers who forget they're pulling a trailer, you can add the center of the trailer to this list. Point is, if you know what parts of the trailer are most likely to be damaged, you can pay extra attention to those areas to reduce your risk. The second tip, watch your speed and your mirrors. If you're in a congested area like a truck stop, or if you need to turn in tight quarters, keep your speed under 5 miles an hour. Also, use the look-in mirrors glance ahead technique to keep an eye on the high-risk zones of your vehicle and anything in your path. And finally, have you ever found yourself in a parking lot with no room to get out? Bad move. No amount of backing or turning skills can help you here. It's a fixed object collision and who knows what else waiting to happen. The time to prevent this situation was when you planned your trip. Get good directions to wherever you're going so you know which driveways and truck entrances to use. And never drive into an area unless you know for sure you can get out again. The hard truth is, if you get into a fixed object collision, it's usually your own fault. It can be embarrassing, costly, even deadly. Don't let it happen to you. Next time you're backing, turning, passing under an obstruction, or driving along a rural road at night, remember, you're the one in control, but you're not the only one who will be hurt if things go wrong. Take your time. Play it safe. It's all part of the deal for a master driver.
Just think of it. We could eliminate 70% of all of our accidents if we executed one basic defensive driving technique. Get out and look.